Thank you for joining me today, Laura, to talk about how to keep it cool and deal with stress and anxiety as far as your clients. I know with everything that's going on with COVID-19 to just the normal planning process, there's a lot of anxiety that clients deal with. And so because I know that you're a pro at this, I wanted to just take a little time to discuss how you deal with client anxiety and manage that through the planning process. So if you could start by just telling us a little bit more about you and your company.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So Magnolia is a firm that started back in 2004. And I was, just out of high school in 2004. But my old business partner began the company then and built it to a really great space. And then she got to a point where she just couldn't do it alone anymore. So she invited me to be a business partner as well as some other people. And then over the years, it just sort of took on its own form. And one of our goals the whole time was for Magnolia to be a firm where it was just call Magnolia. Any one of those girls would be great.
Yeah.
And so it really became that way, but we all started to build our own reputations within the firm. And Christina decided to retire. And at that time, we took ownership of the firm. So that's when we rebranded and became Magnolia Celebrates about 2 years ago.
Cool.
But still, we're known in the community as Magnolia. And it is true. You can call myself or my business partner, Sarah, and either one of us are, jumping at the bit right now to help anybody with anything. But it's, we are very blessed and excited to have this time with family and to have this time to work on our business that we are often working in instead of on. So it's been great, but yes, we're thrilled and excited for all of our clients to have something to look forward to right now.
Right.
So that's Magnolia sort of in a nutshell. There's two of us. We never book more than one event in a weekend to make sure that we can back each other up. And that's sort of a service that we offer to our clients. And we are full service, comprehensive service. We have a sister brand called Azalea Celebrates that does our day of planning as well. And then on top of that, I also have opened up Magnolia Consults. And Magnolia Consults does things like this, where we would sit down on a more personal level and help you through whatever your event business needs may be. Is it scaling? Is it, figuring out pricing? Is it, are you a new venue that's trying to figure out how to break into the luxury market? Are you a old venue that's renovating and wanting to know what it is that planners are looking for when selling? Just all sorts of things like that. So
that's an amazing service. That's an amazing.
Well, we're really excited about it. That's actually one of the reasons I'm down in the beach this week, which is why we're pre-recording, is I'm going to speak with a venue that is renovating and wants to attract more of a luxury brand.
Right.
Or more of a luxury market and be more of a luxury brand. So
that's awesome.
Exciting.
That's awesome. That's exciting. That's exciting. Well, I hope everything goes well with that too.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So let's go ahead and jump in a little bit about how you manage client anxieties. So my first question that I have is, what are the biggest challenges when dealing with client anxiety? I could only imagine where we are right now is one of them. But if you could speak a little bit about that, what you feel.
Absolutely. So yes, COVID right now is, of course, everyone's biggest anxiety. But on a regular basis, outside of COVID, people want to make sure that they're making the right decisions, especially in our market, in this luxury world. You're spending a lot of money, and really in any market. You know, if you're spending $2,000 on your wedding, or if you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on your wedding, you're spending a lot of money. And it's all relative to your, you know, your affordability. With that, you want to make sure that you're confident in your decisions. And how can you be confident in something that you have absolutely no experience in? And that's where a wedding planner should come in. And that's where a wedding planner should be able to help you navigate and make informed and confident decisions throughout the process.
Right. Yeah. I can only imagine. I feel like most brides come pretty much clueless. And then, and are looking for someone to like, help me, like guide me through all of the 20 million decisions that I have to make and make this the best day ever.
Right. Well, exactly. Because, you know, and a lot of these brides, it's the most money they've ever dealt with in planning something. Right. Yeah. And so they're thinking about the 250 people that they're inviting to this one event. And it's also the biggest event they've ever planned. And it's also the most money they've ever spent. So like all of these things. And so there's a lot of conversation that goes into that. There's a lot of, walking alongside of them and hearing what their concerns are and helping them by telling them your experience. And truly, you have to be able to stand behind each one of the brands that you are referring them to. Right. And if you can't, then you have to tell them that honestly as well.
Yeah. That's a big one. That's definitely having vendors in like who you decide to partner with or spend your money with outside of your planner. That's a big one to help them with. So do you have any processes in place to help you through the planning process with clients?
Right. Yes. So yes, from the start, we hit them with a lot of things. We start with a budget, and some of our clients come to us and they have an overarching number of what they want to spend. And then we say, okay, great. Here's all the little buckets of how that money will get spent. Other clients come to us and they say, we have no idea what this is going to cost. You need to tell us what this is going to cost. In which case we sort of say, okay, look, here's the average. Here's the average of what people spend in these buckets. Now, it may go up or it may go down depending on your taste and your style and your, and your sort of how you swallow this. Like if you swallow this and say, then great, let's move forward. If you swallow it and you're like, that's a bit much. Yeah. Then, okay, well, this is where we can scale back and this is what we can do. Right. But the biggest piece is communication throughout the entire process. So I send this to you and I say, please tell me your feedback because I can't do anything if I don't know what you're thinking. Right. And then we also, I need to find a better term for this, but I have a to-do list that shows everything that everything that we need to make a decision on. And it has on the side of it, the exact timing of when I would expect for us to make these decisions. And then I highlight in different colors, this is what we need to work on right now. And if you're bored at night and you're just looking for something to do, then go online and find your ceremonial items. And that's in a different color of you can do it anytime you want. And then there's another, like, this is what we're going to be working on next. And I find that breaking it down for them so that first of all, they see, and this is what I need to find a better analogy for, they see the whole elephant, right? They see every bit of it. And they're, that can be overwhelming, but because you've broken it down into these manageable pieces and also said over to the side, like, we're not working on hair and makeup until 6 to 8 months out. Okay. So that means that we are 12 months out right now. And somebody's asking me, oh my gosh, you don't have your hair and makeup person yet? You can go to the to-do list and you can be like, no, I don't. And that's okay. Yeah. It's completely fine. Yeah. With your dress, we always put in there, you can do that whenever you want. But if you want to make sure not to have any rush fees, then you need to try to order it 8 months out because that's when rush fees begin for certain brands. Some are 6, some are 8. But we sort of try to put all of these things in the to-do list, but then break it down so that it's one bite of the elephant at a time so that you aren't at any point overwhelmed. Right. And then we send it to them periodically. And when we send it to them, we have bullet points in the email of like, look, these are the things on the list that we are working on right now. And here's our suggestions. So even then it's not, okay, we need to work on photographers. I mean, it's
yeah.
We need to work on photographers. Here are the 5 that we think are so awesome for you.
Right.
That are in the budget that we have already talked about. And so what do you think of these 5?
Yeah.
I always say there's like 5,000 photographers in Atlanta.
Yeah,
Let's break it down to 5 that we think are really great and within your budget. And then let's move from there into, okay, to make that informed decision, you need to interview more than one. So break that list of 5 down to 2 or 3. Or if you come back to me and you say you don't like any of them, I'll give you a new 5. But I'm not giving you a list of 60.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of it too. Is there's, what is it called? Decision overload, or where decision fatigue or something, where you just get so overwhelmed. You're like,
that's definitely
no. Right. So I think that those are like specific ways that we do it. And then I think most planners probably do it, and every planner has a different format, right? A lot of people use aisle planner. We don't. We have found that most of our clients don't want to use aisle planner because they don't want to learn an entirely new platform.
Right.
Which goes back to that anxiety again of why am I going to make you learn a new platform if you're good with Excel and Word? So we've just stayed with Excel and Word for now. If we have a client that wants to use aisle planner, we'll be happy to. But in the meantime, honestly, I found that some of those platforms, while they make it a lot easier for us as planners, can make it a lot harder for the clients because they just get too overwhelmed.
Right.
So,
right. I mean, those all seem like, especially how you use the analogy, even though you say you need a better one, but the elephant and then breaking it down. Just thinking from like, if I was a potential bride or a bride of yours, to see the chunk and then tell me like, you don't need to think about this until the 6-month mark. Like that definitely would be helpful, so that I know, like, because brides get those questions like, you don't have you haven't, and it's like, pause. My planner said.
Right. Exactly. And the reality is if you want to work on hair and makeup 18 months out instead of 6 months out, absolutely, I'll do it with you.
Yeah.
But, I want for you to understand that during the timeline of your event, this is when it needs to happen, so that you're never overwhelmed going, oh my gosh, I have to get all of this done right now.
Mm-hmm. And so I know you mentioned about your clients and them, liking Excel and Word and like all of that. Yeah. So is there any other kind of feedback? Do you get the feedback that clients are saying like, oh my gosh, you're making this so much easier, or I don't feel overwhelmed?
I think, yes, I think just breaking down the vendors in each category and sort of, I've given it even more thought for them lately of, this is why I like this specific one for you. And this is why I like this specific one for you. And, so on and so forth, sort of like a little sales pitch for each vendor. And that it just helps them even more understand, instead of just being like, hi, here's 5 photographers, go look at their links.
Yeah.
And then, because sometimes if they're not an artistic minded person, they can look at photography links, for example, and just go, they're all pretty pictures. I don't know which one what do I do from here? So, and you can't be on the couch in their living room with them as they are doing all of this. I mean, it's just not, first of all, it's just not feasible. And second of all, you just can't. Some things they have to do on their own, but you can at least give each person a little bit of a pitch that allows for your client to have some understanding of what it is they're even looking for as well. this person I like because of their airier style. And I also like working with them on the day because they, stay so calm, cool, and collected. Or, this person has such creative ways of doing those formed picture, those formal pictures so that, no family member feels stressed or worried about it during that time. And everyone feels welcome. And, like something like that for a client whose parents are divorced and is insanely worried about, it's a recent divorce and they're insanely worried about, how to manage all of that on a day. They may say they're pretty pictures and you're telling me they can do that. I want to hire them straight off the bat. Right. Whereas you may not even know that anxiety is happening yet because she hasn't shared with you the nitty gritty of ugly divorce, because why would she? Right. Because even though we try to be very friendly and friends with all of our clients, like at the end of the day, we're not their best friends.
Right.
There are things they're not going to share with us.
Yeah. And I definitely think there would be things that come, like, let's say something like that would come as the planning process is going on and it's finally reveals like my parents had an ugly divorce.
Right. Absolutely. But because you're hiring your photographer within the first 3 or 4 weeks of hiring a planner, it's typically not come out yet.
Yeah.
Right. So, so that's just, I think that thought process helps a lot as well.
Yeah.
Did that answer the question, or did I just go on a tangent?
No, but that was good though. No, that was really good information though. There definitely was. So along with, your client's anxiety, there's also the team as well in dealing with the team's anxiety. So just talk to me a little bit about how you manage that as far as the event and the planning process goes.
Right. So, and are we talking team as like my specific staff members, or are we talking team like the whole vendor team? Or both?
Let's talk about both. Let's talk about both. Let's start with your team though first.
Okay. So for my team, to be honest, I kind of want them to have a little anxiety.
Okay.
Not a ton, but I want them to remain on their toes. I don't want for them to ever feel like, oh, this is old hat. I don't need to work that hard today. So I like for them to have a little bit of nerves. I'm not going to do anything to make them have it, but I don't try to dissuade them. I do try to I do tell them this is a big event. These are, this is a once in a lifetime event for this family. And it's also a very important family to us because of XYZ reason. And every family is important. So I can find a reason for every one of them. But I try to sort of put that out there at the very beginning of our day so that they understand that at no point did I give you permission to calm down and not worry about whether or not this is going well. But no, I don't want them to be overly worried. And so, for example, in a COVID situation, when my staff members start attending events with me again, I will for certain make sure that they are taken care of. Right. I will make sure that they are comfortable. I will make sure that if they want to wear a mask, they are wearing a mask. If they're required to wear a mask, they're wearing a mask.
Right.
That they have hand sanitizer in their little fanny pack on the side of their hip, and that I can, in whatever way I can make them more comfortable, I'm going to make it happen. Because while I want them to be on their toes, I never want for them to feel unsafe or undervalued. Right. So I think that's the best I can answer that one.
Yeah.
But as far as the team in general, I love to create a team atmosphere when I am at any event, which means that I want everyone working together. Right. So when I refer vendors that are team players that are not, I'm not going to refer the band that says, I'm sorry, I'm too diva to fit 6 people on a 24 by 16 stage. I'm going to tell you to get over it. But I'm do it in a really nice way, but I'm going to tell you to get over it. Because I won't be unreasonable, but I do know, I've been in this business long enough to know what's feasible and what's not. And if the event space doesn't allow for it, I'm going to ask you to be a team player. And that's with everyone. And if we're talking in situations where there's anxiety around events, I would assume that there would be something precarious happening, right? Like we're talking COVID, or we're talking tornado warnings, or we're talking, giant rainstorms on the middle of an outside wedding or something like that. In which case I do the same thing as I want to do for my own staff members of, you are valued, you are wanted, you are important to me and to this event, and we need you on this team. And if you, for any reason, feel unsafe, then you need to tell me that, and we need to work through the solutions together. Yeah. And we will stop everything and we will work through them together.
Right.
Because I want them to know that I'm there for them, that I truly care for them, and their safety and their and just their livelihood and everything about them. Right. I don't work with people that I don't enjoy and love in real life as well.
Yeah. That helps for sure.
Yeah. I think that treating people like humans is the way to help them with their anxiety surrounding event days. Telling them that they're valued, telling them that they're doing a great job, telling them that they're, that we're all in this together. Those things go such a long way. Right. And words of affirmation, especially on event days, and just being encouraging.
Yeah.
But also taking into account, like, there's a story. I'm gonna call out my old business partner because it's one of my favorite stories. She had a client and they were doing an event in the backyard of someone's house. And it was a warm day. So they had planned, but it wasn't hot. So they'd planned these fans for the day in the tent instead of air conditioning. And so everybody was setting up for the event. The servers were out there setting tables, and, designers were out there putting the floral up and whatnot. And the dad comes out, and it wasn't his shiny, his proudest moment, but he's out there and he's like, why are all these fans on? Why are we using up all this power? What are we doing here? And I think he was just stressed out for the day. Right. Yeah. But Christina has this perfect ability that I try to emulate every day, that she just looks at him and she goes, human people working, human people living in the house, human people working.
Yeah.
Human people working. We're going to keep the fans on. Okay. Human people working. And she just kind of like smiled at him and sent him on his way. And that's sort of, I think it's the perfect example of like, it's your house and it's your power, but I don't care. These are real people. We're going to take care of them.
People. Right. Right. That's why. And I'm happy that you talked about too, just like, touching on COVID and just making sure your team feels safe and feels valued, because I think going forward, that's going to be a very big part of, like, as an employee to an employer, like that relationship being right, because from now on, that is going to be a thing. It just is.
Right. Yeah. But don't get me wrong too. This doesn't, I am paid to be an advocate for my client, and I absolutely will be, but not to a point of unreasonable. Right. So, if the band just decides they're not going to show up, that's not okay. Or if there's, if you give me a valid reason, then yes, absolutely. We're going to work together. We're going to figure out a solution. If you are just divaing out on me, especially in COVID times, I'm going to look at you, I'm going to smile at you, and I'm going to say, I understand. I'm going to need you to put your big girl panties on. And that's going to be kind of the end of that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about clients, we talked about the team, but I also want to talk about just how do you manage your own anxiety? Because I know that, comes with the territory. And like you said, like having a little anxiety is good, as far as before an event and making sure it goes well. So just how do you manage yours?
Yeah. So on event days, I still get butterflies every single time before the bride goes down the aisle. On a daily basis, I make sure to move my body. I make sure to work out because it is what calms me. I try to do it in the morning before the crazy of the house happens. And even on event days, even though I'm going to, do a Disneyland amount of steps throughout the day, I'm still, on the bike in the morning or, lifting weights or doing something to have moved my body outside of just walking around.
Right.
Because that's what helps me. I also, try to set certain boundaries with work, yes, you're absolutely important to me, but I also have kids and a husband. And so from the hours of, 5 to 7:30, I'm not available. And I'm putting the phone away and I'm not available. Right. And the same thing in the morning, I'm not available until 9 a.m. And it doesn't matter how big of a client you are, because quite frankly, nobody else is available either. We're in the event industry. We're in hospitality. Nobody's on their computer for 10 a.m. So the fact that I'm on at 9 just means that I'm getting emails to them before they're on their computer.
Right.
I have put that in place in the last couple of years because I was finding that I was letting it get out of control. And as you let your availability and your business sort of take over the personal parts of your life, your anxiety will most definitely raise, because you've not set any boundaries that are put your own oxygen mask on yourself first. Right. There's a reason that the airlines say that, and it's true, because you can't take care of anybody if you're not taking care of yourself. Okay. So I try to concentrate on that. And then outside of that, I remind myself every day. I think Brian Greene said it. We're not curing cancer here. This is a fabulous event. Yeah. But we're not curing cancer. Yeah. So it's going to be okay. Yeah. It is going to be okay. Regardless of what situation we are in, emergencies in the wedding world are quite the blessing compared to what, other people are dealing with. And so I just remind myself of these things and then, and hope that it calms me, which it typically does. And then turning the phone off and being present where you are, instead of being concerned with the emails or the text messages is incredibly helpful as well.
Yeah. Definitely. I think one of the turning the phone off or putting it in another room or whatever you have to do, definitely, because emails and text messages can follow you if you have your phone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And social media. I mean, I have been very guilty in these last few weeks and social media one of my, I shouldn't share this, but one of my biggest anxieties right now is truly that I have young kids. And so I don't have the time like other companies do, some of my other colleagues do and competition do to, be everywhere and watch every, webinar and do all sorts of creative projects right now because I have young kids that I'm homeschooling and keeping alive and, they're not going to summer camps and they're not going to daycares. And so they're there all the time. And so even when I'm emailing with a just 1 second, I'm getting, so there's anxiety even in my own heart of, are they going to, is my business going to start going like this? Well, theirs goes like this. Right. And I just have to remind myself that, this is the whole reason I started this business was because I wanted to be able to be present in my kids' lives while also having a business. And so I have to stay centered in that and allow for God to take care of the rest.
Yeah. And, That's true. That's true. That's really good, actually. I think most people are thinking that right now, especially the social media piece or being visible enough or relevant enough or, with all of the things that are happening around us. I definitely think that's probably for a lot of people, a big anxiety or challenge that they're having. And so just before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you if there's one thing that a planner or a designer could do to help with managing their clients. Is there something that they could implement in their business?
Yeah. I'm going to pause for just a second so you can edit this part out while my dad opens this box. No, you're okay, Dad. You're good. You're good. Just open the box. No, you're good. I just figured I'd let you do it. Okay. In full disclosure, I went and stole his office because he wasn't in it to be closer to the internet.
That makes sense.
So now he's coming back. It's okay.
Oh man.
But okay. All right. Can I start? We're almost done, Dad. Can I start again? Okay. Okay. Sorry. Can you ask it again? Because now I forgot. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to ask before we wrap up, there is one thing that an event planner or wedding planner, designer, or just professional in general could implement in their business to help manage their clients?
Yeah. So I think in recent years, there's been a lot of talk about like being managing your clients and their time and sort of, cutting off phone calls after an hour or, saying, or planning your days so that you have back-to-back meetings. And those are all really great things, but your clients also then know they are one of a million other clients that you have.
Right.
And during times of anxiety, what your client wants to know is that they are the only thing that is important to you at that moment. And so I think being able to go the extra mile, have the hour and a half long conversation because it just had to be an hour and a half. Listen to what they are saying. Hear them. Like, don't just listen, but hear them. Tell them that you hear them, and then ask them how you can help. Or if you have solutions, ask for a planner to just really slow down and give your client the time that they need. And go through all of the options and talk through all of the options. And that's in COVID time or outside of COVID time. Right. We in Magnolia have limited the number of events that we take each year to make sure that we're giving the best to our clients and our family. But that's also to make sure that I can sit there for 2.5 hours and talk about drapery if we need to. I don't want to, but if we need to, and that's where your anxiety is, then that's what I'm going to do for you. Right. I can have these longer conversations, but also be the voice of reason as well. Sometimes the clients will just be spiraling and playing the what if game, and you can be the one to say, whoa. Okay, that's a lot of what ifs. But what if it all worked out as well? Right. And in my experience, that doesn't happen. Or in my experience, whenever I see that, this is how we handle it. I had a client we were about to sign with the Ritz-Carlton Lake Oconee, and she called me up and she goes, Laura, what if there is a hurricane? What do you mean if there's a hurricane? There's no hurricanes in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. I don't know what you're asking me. But, we just sat and said, okay, well, what if there was? And, in reality, in full disclosure, this woman is from Miami. So I think she was more concerned about her, her friends and family coming from Miami. But, we just talked her off the ledge. Right. You're right. What if there is a hurricane? Well, let's think about that. We'll know a week in advance and it won't come to Georgia. And so your guests may want to come early. Yeah. That sounds great. Right. They come early and you hang out with them at the pool and you enjoy it because you're already planning to be there on Tuesday. Right. So this is going to be great. So that's sort of, you just have to listen and hear what it is and talk through it and find the positive spin. Right. Because typically all they are doing is spiraling, and you need to find the way to go, okay, but this is not a real problem. So let's go more towards solutions instead of towards problems. Right. I tell my 4-year-old all the time, are you presenting me with a problem or are you asking for a solution? And I think that the same applies, although you can't speak to your clients as if they're 4-year-olds, but they come with, there's going to be a hurricane or we need more draping. And you say, okay, great. Let's talk through that. Let's figure out how. I have found that never saying that can't happen, but instead saying, let's talk through our options, helps.
Yeah. That's good. Cause I think a lot of times people just either want reassurance or want to know that there's options, because I think a lot of times with problems, it's black and white. It's like, oh my gosh, this horrible thing, or everything goes right. And so they want to know that there's wiggle room in that, or there's a way to get around it or whatever. And that helps to calm them down also and talk them off the ledge. Thank you so much, Laura, for taking the time to do this. I really hope your everything goes well down there at the beach. And thank you for joining me and being a part of the summit.
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure, and it's an honor that you asked. And so thank you so much for including me.
All right. Well, have a good day.
You too. Thanks. Bye.